All right. So, we be going. Now, there's probably going to be people who join midstream, and there's guaranteeably going to be a part three. But we have time for now with Aaron again, who wanted to get some of the things out that he couldn't last time. And also, there's going to be more of these streams in the future. Oh, we got Kareem coming in.
All right.
So we've got two people. I would say that Kareem is sort of in between Aaron and I.
Hi, Kareem.
And like
Yeah.
in terms of ideology on the Elon Musk issue, I'm extremely negative because of course I am. Um, but like Aaron is like pro Elon, and Kareem like thinks Elon is good in some areas and not in others, if I
I
understand
don't know what
correctly.
area he's good in. The only area he's maybe actually he's not even good in any area. I can't really think of any area he's good.
Well, I mean, I would assume you would like his AI and his technological advancements.
No, again, to me, that's centralizing it. Centralizing it just means a few people and not good people can control something like
Hmm.
that. That's so no. I'm not a fan of
Well,
him or Sam Altman or Zuckerberg or um,
let's start on that then.
Bezos.
Why don't you give us your take on Elon Musk's AI specifically, and then Aaron can respond to that, and I can give some filler later.
I'm not a fan of any of his products. If it comes down to free market, I don't see a use for electric cars because at the end of the day, if an electric car has failures, then a gas car is going to have to tow an electric car. So that's kind of funny. It's like, hey, and the charging stations, I don't know how reliable those are. I thought Teslas were cool, but then after a while, I didn't see like a practical use for them. Kind of like Apple computers. Like, yeah, they exist, but like, seems like a whole lot of money I could put some on something else somewhere else for something that I need. So while some of this might be nice to have, now the other things he has are, SpaceX. I'm not worried about space going into space. How about we like fix the ecology here? We stop destroying the planet. And I don't mean like Davos environmentalists, I'm gonna get on a $1 billion boys club and jump on a jet. I just mean literally not destroying the soil, not with no chemtrails, getting fluoride out of the water. That might be good, or filtering your water because there can still be bad stuff in there. To me, social ecology or regenerative finance is really the way to go in that sense. I'm not worried about trying to get another planet. Let's stop killing each other on Earth before we go and try and the old Jordan Peterson thing, sort out your own house before you go into other houses or whatever he said.
Well,
Like,
okay, so I'll push back right there because like I agree with most of what you just said, but fuck Jordan Peterson. That's a Bible verse, and he like appropriated that shit. Like,
okay, fine.
like that's Matt 7-4. As the resident trained preacher, I will come along and say that hypocrite that thou art, that thou would examine the mote in thy brother's eye before removing the plank from thine own.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of Jordan Peterson, really. Like the problem with these personal development things, like Peterson, take all this. It's quick sound bites. It doesn't go like
Yeah.
deep into philosophy like Manly P. Hall.
But it also
Anyway.
sounds like this. And how could
Yeah.
you just... You said...
What on earth? And okay, Neuralink. Let's get to that. That's funded by DARPA. I can tell where the technology is coming from. DARPA also created the internet, so whatever. But here's the problem. There's a very, very small fraction of the population that's disabled. Now you're Elon. Elon wants to make money. The reason I think he wants to get to Mars and he is lithium. The reason he's buddy with Trump is because the tariffs in China hurt his business. So hey, imagine that self-interest. Now, why would a billionaire who says he just wants to help disabled people, but the very small percent of the population, put billions of dollars into a product that's not necessarily going to see an ROI? Does he really care about just disabled people? Is the brain chips just to help? Now that's what he says, but and even if and then the robots, not a big fan of. I can see that I can see like being scary. I'm not super worried about like some dude prompting for goofy images on the internet. Like, I post dumb stuff on the internet. I'm not saying it's good, but like the robots, that's a good way to spy on people. I'm sure intelligence agencies going to love that because people are going to buy those now. And then his other things, maybe the only thing I like is maybe he likes Dogecoin and he likes Shiba Inu and stuff like that. And I agree the world, like, I'm not a depopulationist, Malthusian, so could agree with him on that. I'm not a fan of his AI company. I'm not a fan of really any AI company right now because of the way it's being done. I would like to see AI being more like Linux as opposed to Windows, because then I think you get more innovation, just like you do in the crypto space when it's decentralized. So no, I don't know where I came across as like a fan of Elon, or I've been criticizing a lot of his positions too on foreign policy.
Right. Well,
there's nothing really I like about him.
No, I wasn't saying like you were a fan of Elon. I was saying that you were closer to a middle between me and Aaron, because I fucking hate Elon, and everything he touches I hate. I don't like anything he's doing at all, and I don't see any redeeming factors in any of it, even if it was changed hands. Whereas you have a more moderate positions on certain things, like for instance the technological aspects of it. So I wasn't saying you were an Elon stan.
I really don't like, and also X. He ruined X. Works. It logs me out. I got to do the little thing. X logs you out more. The spaces don't work. You have to agree the spaces.
Well, yeah, the spaces suck, but it logs you out. I mean, I haven't had that problem, so like that's an interesting.
Maybe
thing.
It's just me. Maybe I'm logging in different IP. But the spaces, when I try and have a spaces, I lose audio. It doesn't pick up. I got on my phone. There's a lot of problems with. Yeah, he fired all these people, and people like. I'm like, yeah, but then the spaces doesn't work, and he's like, okay, I'm going to be against censorship, but he's complied with most. I don't know what the percentage is. I don't know how you measure.
It was 83% like a year ago. Censorship requests from authoritarian governments, and now it's like
Linda
most
Yaccarino.
Linda is Yaccarino, just to be specific.
Linda Yaccarino is like a soccer mom WEF person. I feel she's like, hey, put your seatbelt on and eat your crickets. Come on, Captain Schwabi. Woohoo!
Well,
we're going to enslave you. We're going to do authoritarian socialism the wrong way. And just for the record, since you're an ANCAP, you can be a libertarian and a socialist.
So, and Aaron knows that. But so, Aaron, like we gave you a lot. We gave you a lot to respond to just now. So I'll give you some time.
Yeah, I tried to take some notes. You're going to have to let me respond to at least a few of those.
Yeah.
Kareem, you hit a lot of topics related to Elon, and of course that's just a consequence of him like being involved in so many things. He's got his fingers in so many pies. I tried to take some notes. I'm going to try and address some of these. First off, the electric car thing. Saying electric cars are bad or the charging stations are unreliable. First off, I feel like as a consumer and an ANCAP, I like the idea of having more vehicle options, not fewer, with more propulsion sources, not fewer. So I do feel like there's room for gasoline vehicles. I myself, I've already stated that I own a Tesla, but I also own a gas-powered plug-in hybrid. And I agreed. I actually liked what you said about how, if the electric car dies, you got to tow it with the gas car. Yeah. When I was going to get like the second car, my wife and I decided, look, we already have a Tesla. Let's not get a second EV. We got to have something with gas in case the zombie apocalypse happens, because the epicenter will be California. So we did get the plug-in hybrid that'll take petrol, so I can fill up with gas when the grid goes down, right? So, but having the convenience of electric cars is actually a good thing, especially in a state like California. Now, I don't think electric cars are always the answer in every situation, but they're definitely an answer in some situations. And if you've got in California, we're paying like $5 a gallon on $5 a gallon for gas. And it's very convenient to be able to fill up a Tesla at a fraction of the price that it would take to fill up my Jeep. You know what I mean? The gas is getting more and more expensive. A new gas tax just got implemented. So it might not make as much sense to have an EV in a state where gas is $2 or $3 a gallon, but you can actually save money And I know EVs normally have a higher sticker price than their gasoline equivalents, but you can come out ahead if the gas prices in your area are high enough. And in California, that is definitely one of those states. Now, when it comes to EVs, Tesla actually nowadays, they didn't used to, nowadays their EVs are more affordable than most. You're going to get a better EV at a lower sticker price with Tesla than most of the other legacy automakers that are making Teslas. For example, if you want to get if you go and get like Tesla's top dog model, the Tesla Model S, you're probably going to spend 80 or 90 grand. But if you get the same type of car with the same type of specs from a European manufacturer, you're going to spend like 130, 150, sometimes 175 for the same type of vehicle. So
well, Nitzud Oskinarv or Oshkinarv? I actually don't know how to pronounce that. You're free to tell me if I'm full of shit. Says registration is higher for EVs.
Yeah, and one thing too, you're an ANCAP, so you don't believe in the state. Why does the state like electric vehicles too? It's not because they care about. It's because they're completely computerized. Now I get it.
Yes.
I have a smartphone. There are certain things I need to like do work, and
the gas cars are now just as connected as the EV cars. The EV cars were the first to be connected and spy on you. The gas cars now have all these capabilities as well. The technology is bled into the gas automobiles.
Well, right, new ones.
Yeah, the new ones. Yeah, new ones. All
they
the new
hacked
cars.
a Honda Civic from the 90s.
Yeah. Exactly.
Real quick. So Meowie something pause. I don't know, the emojis you probably have aren't showing up. Question 1, are you on drugs? I have been clean and sober for like 5 going on 6 years now. I don't know about either of these people, but if they are, then their body, their choice. I'm pretty sure neither of them are though.
I do drugs, but I'm sober right now.
Yeah.
Question
2, what's up? Well, so real quick though, like that's the thing, like the gas tax itself is what's driving demand to EVs, which means that EVs are reliant on the government in order to spur that demand. Additionally, EVs have regulatory capture, which enables the state to take money from one auto manufacturer and give it to a compliant manufacturer. And so without the state, Elon Musk would not have this alleged advantage in terms of EVs. So to me, from an ANCAP or libertarian perspective, that strikes me as a point against it.
I don't think that's a point. So I agree with you what you just said, but I don't think that's a point against Elon. I think that's a point against the government. So for example, when the government makes something illegal and then a black market emerges for it, that's not like a mark against the people that are doing the black market stuff. That's a mark against the government that makes these new costs get incurred and you have to start covering your tracks or doing these things.
But how do you, wait. Here's the problem. The problem with this is corporatism, or as you call it, crony capitalism, where the government says, hey, Elon, here's a subsidy. Go make this. And then the government can say, it's not us, a private company did it. Like Pfizer, Raytheon. It's not us, man. Boeing just keeps making all these tanks. Why? Oh, here's a subsidy. It's literally a circle jerk of evil where here's a subsidy. Do bad thing under a corporate logo. Look. And then the corporate logo gives them. Now, Elon might just be thinking, hey, they're giving me a subsidy. They want me to build this. Then there's some bureaucrat like, hey, or intelligence agency like, good job. Now we can use these robots to spy on people. Tell them it's innovation, Elon. Get on X, dude. Turn your profile to Keck so people are dumb. And I don't mind Pepe. But
the subsidy thing, I don't like subsidies either. The subsidies are currently industry wide. They're not Tesla specific. It's any manufacturer that makes a certain EV in a certain way will qualify for the subsidies.
But you don't have to accept them.
That's true. The subsidies that I've seen so far are, and we talked about this on the part 1 a little bit, I think, but the subsidies that I'm really familiar with are the consumer ones that are the tax credits. But now I remember, I think you said that there was also money that was taken from some auto manufacturers and given to Tesla instead,
regulatory credits
or something like that. Yeah. Okay. So let's say that Elon it's a mark against Elon for him to accept the subsidies. He's not an ANCAP. I know that he's more of a libertarian leaning, but
I disagree.
Is pro-state to some degree. I don't think he's an ANCAP.
Well,
or at least he hasn't
He's
admitted
not
it.
a-
yeah, he's not an ANCAP, but I also disagree that he's libertarian because of all the anti-libertarian stuff he does.
Yeah, he's done a lot of anti-libertarian stuff. That's true. Um, but he has publicly called to end all the subsidies. He's publicly said that he doesn't, at least not now, plan for them when Tesla budgets and stuff like that. So I would
he's
anyway. But I
pulling the
agree
ladder
that
up under him.
the subsidies should all end and let everyone figure out how to make an EV profitable
Is
and see if the market can support this stuff without subsidies.
Is he going to
If it collapses, then fine.
Is he going to give up his share of the subsidies? Is he going to refund taxpayers that money that he already took from them? Is he going to refund the other manufacturers the regulatory credits? Otherwise, he's just pulling the ladder up under him. I'm successful. I got here because of the government helping me get here. I still am here because of government helping me with my launch pads, giving me contracts for SpaceX, giving me contracts for Neuralink, and even some for Tesla. But now that I'm here, I'm going to pull up the ladder from under me and act like that makes me some kind of libertarian hero because I'm ending subsidies. It's not real if he still keeps the stuff that he says is wrong to have.
Yeah, I think that I would agree with you there in that it would look bad to pull the ladder up from under you, so to speak. But the EV market has been alive and growing for several years now, and if the other auto manufacturers haven't managed to get off their ass and learn how to make a profit off of selling an EV, and only Tesla's the one that's managing to do that, then
they're not.
That's not exact. Well, no, Tesla is profitable right now, and the bet is now it remains to be seen for sure, but most analysts are betting that Tesla would still make a profit absent subsidies. Obviously it would shrink, but right now, even with subsidies, Ford, BMW, Mercedes, they're all incurring losses on every EV unit that they move.
But
so
Tesla almost went bankrupt.
Had time to get,
Tesla almost went bankrupt. He literally sent a company-wide memo saying, if you don't stay for the holidays, we're going to be bankrupt.
Yeah, he's done things like that, but he didn't get a bailout like General Motors did. General Motors went bankrupt and got a bailout, and now General Motors makes EVs and sells them at a loss, and they enjoy the subsidies just like. So what I'm saying is there's a certain amount of self-responsibility here when it comes to being an EV manufacturer. So I don't think that it's solely Tesla's fault if they manage to learn how to make a profit and survive the removal of subsidies, and then if the other manufacturers stop producing EV cars in response to the removal of subsidies, that is necessarily a mark against Elon. Maybe it's distasteful for him to say, hey, end the subsidies now that I've learned how to play the game, right? But that's not his fault that he's the only one that's gotten that far. He's taken it as far as it is. I don't think so. I don't think that it's going to be his fault because of something that the government did.
It's not.
First you say the EVs are bad, the subsidies are bad, and then you say it's bad when the government stops it. I mean,
no, it's not.
Have your cake and eat it too.
It's not the government doing it. He took the subsidies. He didn't need to take the subsidies, and he did that to advance himself, unfairly in an industry where he wouldn't have been able to compete on those levels without taking those subsidies. He would have already gone bankrupt.
So there's a lot of things that I take from the government that I call for the removal or abolishment of, or the privatization of. And I don't feel that it necessarily makes me a hypocrite, for example, to use a public road, even though I think they should be privatized.
Okay.
I don't think it makes me a hypocrite if, for example, the government decided to give me a income tax break for whatever reason, and I paid a lower tax rate than the rest of the workers out there in the world. You know what I mean? To try and use a personal example that maybe some people can relate to. What if your particular W-2 job, the government decided that you and you alone get to have half the income tax rate that everyone else does, and you're effectively getting a subsidy? Is it going to make you a hypocrite to say that, to accept it?
This isn't just tax breaks, though. This is also active grants. This is active support for various programs. He lied his way into the Hyperloop and then abandoned the project once it didn't work. And then all of that stuff, I could list failure after failure after failure of government money into Elon Musk that was not just tax breaks. And his regulatory credits that took money from other auto manufacturers and gave it to him, his literal defense Department contracts to build SpaceX defense satellites and surveillance grid equipment.
Yeah.
Like his literal like work with foreign like governments in the form of giving like internet to Ukraine and shit.
Yeah.
Like I could give example after example after example of him just actively taking money from the government in the not in the form of tax breaks, like and coming out ahead because of that, and because of using, for instance, he never built a launch facility. He never built any launch facilities for SpaceX. He got the money from the government, or he used existing launch facilities with NASA.
Yeah, the government let him use those existing facilities. That's
Yes.
right. And then they would just make minor modifications and set it up, blah, blah, blah. The only exception of that right now is the facility in Texas. But right now, Texas is only using it for testing purposes of the Starship. The production rockets are currently being launched out of a military base in California and the NASA complex in Florida. So those are both government facilities. Yeah.
Right. So he like relied on the government to get where he is, and now he's pulling the ladder up from under him. It seems like look, I want to abolish the state. I'm an anarchist, but like
Yeah.
It's not libertarianism to say that subsidies should be gone after they helped somebody, and like after he's not going to give that money back. And like while he's using the things that he got ahead with, using those government subsidies, the regulatory credits, the like grants, the things that he was getting that weren't just tax breaks, but that also, like, I mean, he advocates carbon taxes, he advocates a wide variety of other taxes. So the idea that he's like some anti-tax libertarian, or that he like is some anti like regulation libertarian when he's using regulatory capture, or the idea that he's some anti-subsidy libertarian when he got there by subsidies, seems to me to be absurd. It seems to me to be that he used the government to get where he is, and now he's saying the government is bad in these areas. It doesn't strike me as consistent or reasonable.
You know, I can appreciate that kind of analysis of his behavior. When I look at it from his perspective, in the sense like he's not going to be an ANCAP or a libertarian as nearly as deeply as we are. He likes to say, "Oh, I like smaller government," but when he advocates for the ending of these subsidies while still letting his company benefit from them, it's almost like, I mean, I've seen people say that you should stop doing something bad when it benefits them. What's the phrase? Never interrupt your enemy when they're in the middle of making a mistake. So it's like, look, you're making a mistake. You shouldn't do this. It's wasteful. It's counterproductive. But as long as you do it, I'm going to take advantage of you for doing it. And maybe that is, maybe that's not the most, honorable thing to do. But I don't think it's like you can sit there and accuse it's like you're accusing the liquor store of selling booze to the drunk guy, and it's the drunk guy's choice to consume this thing and be an addict, and ultimately there's a self-responsibility factor there, right?
Or it's like MAGA people and the far right in general claiming to be against groomers, while Donald Trump was a friend of Jeffrey Epstein. It's like, I mean, eventually you just have to stop banging the kids,
Yeah, that's a funny one. I mean, I don't like his MAGA turn. I liked it better when he was friends with Obama, and then Biden threw him under the bus, and now he aligns himself with Donald Trump, who's hanging out with Epstein. I don't think Elon ever hung out with Epstein or went to that dude's island for the. To his credit.
Elon was just like friends with a whole lot of other people. He's been seen at, like, for instance, if I recall correctly, parties with P. Diddy, for instance, which is basically like the rap industry's, fucking Epstein.
I don't know one way or the other, but I wouldn't be surprised if he was at some events. I mean, a lot of these big celebrities go to all these events where everyone meets each other and hangs out with each other and gets photographed with each other, and it is kind of a club.
It's a club.
I would doubt. He doesn't seem like the type of guy that's going to go and do the freaky shit that P. Diddy did. They probably hung out at more legit events, and then P. Diddy goes and does, but there's unsavory characters in that industry.
This is the same guy who wore the upside down cross in the Baphomet costume, right?
I used to wear an upside down cross for a while.
Okay, but
Yeah.
like the thing is, like
The Baphomet thing was funny, man.
he's probably sending a very
I know.
specific message. So, like the general thing that I want to say, first off, Nitsud,
He's
I'm
worshiping that Satan guy.
I'm just gonna say Ochinarf because I cannot pronounce your name probably properly. Let me know if that's too off. The AI techno prison has been built by those who just want a job and then complain about the slavery. Exactly. Yeah. And then Deer has been saying some comments. I'll address those now. First off, Meowie, whoever you are, if you wanted to say question two, you're free to, but it's not showing up in chat. So, Deer says new technology is utilized toward the further enslavement of the population under this paradigm. Elon is a tech bro conservative, nowhere near libertarian. He's swimming in the swamp with the politicians. He saw that corporate welfare and said, "Yes, please."
That might be a fair assessment. Maybe I'm overestimating his libertarianism. Maybe he puts on that hat when it's convenient. When you're at that level of height in the system, you're probably going to be duplicitous in a lot of ways. But it does seem to me that overall, he tends to lean more towards free markets and less government rather than the other way around. Although it does seem apparent that that's inconsistent. So I can, I can give a mea culpa to that one. The AI thing, honestly, we were touching on AI a little bit, but I got to be honest. I don't know a lot about Grok and how Elon's AI fits in specifically with the rest of the AI that's going on with all these other companies. There's several companies competing for the AI thing. I haven't looked too deep into the AI thing right now, specifically with what Elon's got on his end. All I know is that he's got like a bunch of video cards and he's setting up these facilities to expand the AI's power and computational abilities and so on.
It's like, well, and that's the thing. It's like, when it comes to it, there's a lot of libertarians who will be very loud and proud against certain companies, certain businesses. And one of the examples that I could bring up would be BlackRock. And the thing that I probably read this tweet last time, but for those of you who are just tuning in, I figure I'll read it again because I think it does do quite a bit to like actually describe the sort of stuff at play here. Because the thing is, he said, a lot of compute is needed. And this was on a tweet for XAI announcing our Series C of $6 billion to accelerate our progress. Investors participating include, and then I just made my version of this, right? It's OMG, I get XAI and Grok. I love A16Z, BlackRock, Fidelity, Kingdom Holdings, Lightspeed, MGX, Morgan Stanley, OIA, QIA, Sequoia Capital, Valor Equity Partners, Vi Capital, Nvidia, and AMD, among others. Like, see what I mean? It's a pretend rebellion.
Okay. So if I understand correctly, he's already soliciting investors specifically for the AI component of his portfolio, it sounds like. And there are a bunch of... Yeah. There's like the BlackRock and all those big shady companies, right?
Yeah, and like this is not the first time he's worked with BlackRock. Because if you look into it, the initial seed funding, the initial crowdfunding for Tesla, before quite a bit of others, like the post IPO equity stuff, and the fourth round. Like, let me just read this, right? We've got Martin Eberhard, Mark Tarpening, Ian Wright. That's the Series A round for $7.5 million. That was in 2004. Then in 2005, there was the Series B funding with Valor Equity Partners. Then in 2006, it was Valor Equity Partners, Musk, Vantage Point, Capricorn, Compass, Draper, Fisher, Jurvetson, I don't care, Google, JP Morgan Securities, Larry Page, Nick Pritzker, and Sergey Brin.
Wow.
In 2008, it was the Westley Group, Technology Venture Partners, Vantage Point, and Valor. And then it was also Toyota in 2010 who purchased a common stock for 50 million. Then in 2016, after a series of post-IPO equity and debt rounds, this is off an article. In 2016, Tesla raised its next massive post-IPO equity for $1.46 billion. Goldman Sachs, Bank of America, Merrill Lynch, Deutsche Bank, Citigroup, and Morgan Stanley were the investors in this round. 2017, the most recent round of post-IPO equity, was granted by Tencent for $1.7 billion. That's China for reference.
Yeah.
Then if you look at the actual shareholders, you've got Capital Research and Management Company, you've got Vanguard, you've got Baye Gifford and Co., you've got BlackRock Fund Advisors, Jennison Associates, SSGA Funds Management, Fidelity, Goldman Sachs and Co., JP Morgan Investment, and BAMCO. Those are the primary stakeholders. They hold the majority of shares at the top of it.
Gotcha. So that was a very long list of names, some of which I don't recognize, but a lot of them I do. And I know that they're very big players in the whole investing and startup capital kind of world, obviously. I think that AI, first off, I want to disclose, because I think that the rest of this room here is anti-AI.
No.
I'm pro-AI in principle. I'm actually a fan of AI in general in the abstract, maybe not a fan of every AI company, but that kind of money, like the AI industry is growing right now, and it's going to attract money from these large entities regardless. I think we could do a lot worse than to have Elon Musk and Google and Microsoft doing AI stuff. I think it would be worse, for example, if the Chinese Communist Party had the, dominating control of AI. I think that it would be worse if the United States government directly had an AI, entity that was controlling or monopolizing all of it. I don't think that it's necessarily ideal to have a bunch of large corporations doing AI stuff, but it's kind of hard to get a startup to do AI with a no-namer that has to go and secure 5 million NVIDIA chips. There's a certain level of scale that's necessary at this point in time with the technology. And only certain entities are going to be large enough to be able to put down that kind of capital to make this thing go forward. But I would imagine that you guys probably disagree with my premise that AI is good in the first place, which I think goes to a more fundamental criticism than whether or not Grok is existing.
Kareem and I very often butt heads on this because
I sell AI. I literally have 2 AI products. I use AI every day. I'm not against AI, but the U.S. government has their own AI. They have their front man, Sam Altman, who's an evil dude. He's not a righteous dude. And I posted a Ferris Bueller link in the thing. I wanted to say Ferris Bueller's an anarcho-legalist, but I didn't think people would find that funny.
Well, wait, tell me real quick, Sam Altman and his AI project are a government op or government funded? Because I honestly don't know.
Yeah. In my opinion, ChatGPT is supposedly private, but now he has contracts with the Pentagram, or let's call it the Pentagon. Well, I'm guessing, when you cause death on that level, you're probably, looking to, do something on a much more sinister scale than what normal humans do. But anyway, he has contracts with the Pentagon. He has contracts with intelligence agencies, and he wants to go for profit with ChatGPT. A whistleblower was found dead in their hotel room. I can't say exactly what happened. And he pretends to be this friendly guy in a sweater. Oh, yeah, I'm like the new friendly Steve Jobs type dude. I think Sam Altman is much, much more sinister. I will say, if there's bad players, I don't think Elon's a good guy, but there's people who are really, really bad, like Mark Zuckerberg, like Sam Altman, like Bezos. Those people, I wouldn't trust Mark Cuban. Who wants to be friends with Kamala and Hillary and all them type of people.
Is there any major player, like any major name or leader in the AI industry right now that you would say is overall trustworthy and good?
Yeah, but they're on Discord and they probably don't show their face. So yeah, there's good guys in it to me that I've reviewed their coins, I've talked about their ideas. They want to create individual AI agents for certain things and decentralize it. me and Jeremiah have talked about, like, I want to decentralize AI. I don't want to destroy it. Now I'm still pro anarcho-primitivist. I had John Zerzan on, not this show, but my show. I'm all for the anprims. I'm all for green anarchy. I don't want to destroy nature. I think we need to actually take a harder look at what the heck we're doing on this planet before we go to other planets. So fix your own planet before you go to another planet. I'm not quoting anybody there.
So I would probably defer to you guys for the most part on the AI question, especially because of the fact that I haven't looked too much into that space, and not either with, you know, what Elon's doing in there. Although I'm pro AI in the abstract and in general, I am suspicious by nature of a lot of the players in the space. I didn't even know what you told me just now about Sam Altman. So I feel like maybe with the AI thing, I'm not as prepared, honestly, to like push back against your guys' skepticism and apprehension about it, honestly. So, you know, maybe I'll just have to give you guys that point.
Well,
I don't know as much about the AI. I feel more comfortable talking about SpaceX and maybe the Optimus robots, because I've looked a little bit more at those.
Those are bad too. Those the Optimus.
Yeah, I know you guys hate those.
Well,
I want one. I'm gonna buy one as soon as
you're gonna get
the price I can afford.
People are getting spied on like at ridiculous rates now. Like, I will have conversations with my friends about, like, yeah, I'd like to go get these kind of, like, you know, shoes or something, or a new guitar. And literally it's on my feed, it's on my search. I'm like, okay, they're absolutely, like, they know stuff. They are absolutely listening. Like, I'll switch computers, go this, get a new phone. Yeah. They know that I've done this. So
and your recommendations will pop up on your feed. Oh, you might like this guitar. Oh, you might like this widget. And you're like, I never searched for that. I talked to it verbally to a person. And then
there's a Lebanese group previously led by Sheikh Hassan Nasrallah. I guess I can say it like that. And they non-desert area of the Middle East, and they had basic cell phones, and then a U.S. funded evil regime utilized that and their location somehow to destroy that and cause them harm. I mean, I did not say exactly the group or exactly who this is, but
you don't have to self-censor on this program. You can just say it.
So I read stuff from Mint Press that basically said, like, the Israeli government worked with social media firms to blow up the pagers Hezbollah had. Now, you can say I like Hezbollah or I don't, or, you know, I'm not actually arguing this now. But the question then becomes, well, if they're doing that, and Hezbollah is it's a decentralized militia, and I think they take, like, precautions and stuff. So if they're getting, like, people who are privy to wars, what are they doing to, like, regular people who have, like, I have 6 iPads and this and that, and, like, oh, I need a smart fridge and a smart TV and, like, a smart sandwich, and I need my pepper shaker to be smart. I've seen smart everything.
Hey, let me tell you how deep that goes. We recently got new washer and dryers, and they're Wi-Fi enabled, and you can download washing programs from the goddamn internet. And I'm like, why? And my wife, like, loves it, you know. But I have Amazon Alexa in my home. I have my Google Hey Google, like, enabled on my smartphone, so I can just talk to. I don't even have to take my phone out of my pocket. I'll just say it, and the phone will listen to me and tell me what I want to hear. But if I want privacy, I have the ability to disconnect these devices or turn them off or turn off my internet. If I'm going to go fucking sell a kilo of Coke, I've never done that in my life, but if I'm going to go do something like that I think that I'll get busted for, I do have the ability to disconnect these things to that extent, so I can go do my dirty shit.
They can still spy on you while they're off.
Oh, I've heard about that. Yeah, okay, so, like, you power it off and it's never really powered off. I have Faraday cages for my smartphones, and it's like, you know, the aluminum blanket, and then you put it in, and then boom, you know. I actually use those for my key fobs, because people can go to your house and use an antenna to duplicate your key fob and steal your car right out of your driveway. So I have Faraday cage.
You know
so
who doesn't need to worry about that?
Responsibility that you have to take if you want to do evil shit. But most of the time, 99% of the time in my house, I'm never doing anything nefarious. And I don't mind if Optimus is going to look at me and listen to me and hear what I ask of it while it folds my laundry and vacuums my house. So I can disable all that shit when I want to get crazy, you know?
So real quick, because first off, I know you're probably going to have to go soon, but I like just to be absolutely specific, you can't turn it off. You can't, and you could put it in a Faraday bag. That is true. But like, you know who doesn't have to put their key fob in a Faraday bag to prevent access to their car? Somebody who doesn't have a key fob that can access their car in like their pocket. Yeah. So if you just didn't have this technology to begin with, that is easily exploitable, easily like disarmable, easily, you wouldn't have this concern to begin with, and you also wouldn't be as vulnerable to authoritarian governments.
That is true. There's a trade-off there. The trade-off is that now if I take your advice and don't consume any of these products, then I'm never going to have a robot that folds my laundry for me. I'm never going to have a robot that vacuums for me. And I'm never going to be able to order Taco Bell delivery with my voice and have it just show up at my door magically. So
why do you want these Taco Bell shipped to your house? Why can't you cook?
You were just eating Tostinos.
Yes, but why? Okay, so here's the thing. If I buy $1's worth of like 1.9 pounds of some cheap fuck food and then throw that in a microwave, that's a lot different than voice activating Taco Bell so that I don't even have to get up. Because at the end of the day, when I bought those things, that was at the end of a 7-mile run. It's this thing called being fit. People should try it.
I should try it. I'm definitely guilty there. What I was getting at though, that was me being, I like to be flippant and use ridiculous examples to make people laugh, to kind of illustrate a point in a rather obnoxious way, right? But I do like the idea of having, no, I don't want to use robot servants, automation. I want fully automated luxury gay space communism / capitalism. I like being able to have shit happen around me without me having to lift a finger, and I can just sit there and go, robot, do this. It's like, and that's not only me. My wife likes it too. Like all these domestic chores. Like I can't wait for the robot. I love having a Roomba that vacuums. You know, I love having voice commands that do these things. And a lot of people, I think the reason these things are like growing and succeeding right now is because most consumers agree with me on that point.
But
most
why
consumers
do they agree? Why do you agree?
I want to be lazy and have things happen at the snap of my fingers, as opposed to me getting off my fat ass and going and doing stuff. And the more that happens, the better. If I can get my Optimus robot to mow my lawn for me, if I can teach it how to turn on my lawnmower and use it, that would be so cool. And if I have to have a Faraday cage so that I can go, you know, buy my kilo of cocaine, I don't even do that drug, but I'm just like using it as an example. Then I can get my Faraday cage, or I can disable my Wi-Fi.
But here's a question. Why do you even want a lawn to begin with? Much less a lawn that you're even considering getting like a tens of thousands of dollars worth, like shit-ass robot from Elon Musk to mow. Why not just not have a lawn and plant things that are actually useful so that you don't have to mow them to begin with? It's a problem in search of a solution. It's a solution in search of a problem.
To that point, when we bought our house, you know, we had a front lawn and a backyard as well, both lawns. We did set up a garden, and the garden was just a small 4x8 raised bed, and I put vegetables and stuff in it. And then I immediately discovered that I was in a war with pests, specifically squirrels, caterpillars, and other, you know, bugs and rats and stuff. And they were winning. And I kept trying to like deter them and use repellents and stuff, and they kept winning. You know why? Because they were more determined than I was. They were willing, the pests were willing to spend the energy and time to succeed more than I was. I was only willing to spend like maybe 30 minutes a day. I got kids to feed. I got things to do. So what if I had an Optimus robot that would sit there and monitor the garden and spend the time that I was not willing to spend to keep the pests out? And that way my tomatoes could actually go into my mouth instead of the squirrel's mouth. I spent spent probably about $700 on this garden before I threw in the towel, and eventually let the pests win after I killed a lot of squirrels and rats. I couldn't win. So like there's a lot of things that I could think of where the labor time could be taken up by some humanoid robot someday that could improve my quality of life, and I could be like, oh, now I finally have a successful herb garden in my backyard. Or now you know what I mean?
Speaking of herbs, nasturtiums, marigolds, mint, alliums, including like onions, things like that, garlic, fritillaries, those will keep out squirrels. You can just plant plants that repel animals.
Onions and garlic.
Yes, because they don't like the way they smell.
Ah, okay. I'm vaguely aware of those kind of tips and tricks. And even with all my, like, when I did the garden, I spent a lot of time Googling because I really don't know much about, growing plants. And I felt like I spent a very large amount of time and got very little out of the garden. Like the cost to benefit ratio was very poor. And then it came to one point where I realized, like, okay, I did all this, and like I had success with kale. Actually, the kale, the squirrels didn't want the kale, and I had success with kale. But then I realized, like, even with this, the kale is cheaper when I buy it at the grocery store than when I do it at least at first. So having an Optimus servant to help me move this thing along, I think would have been beneficial.
Or just understanding plant husbandry, doing it right, and then the animals don't show up because you planted plants that they don't get attracted to.
Exactly. So let's do the animal husbandry and then do the plant husbandry and do all these things and find out which plants the animals don't like. And now you're at the point where you've spent 4 hours in one afternoon doing all this research. And then you realize that
now, and it took 30 seconds.
Well, you're better at Googling than I am, and you're better at Googling than most people. Most average retards like myself are going to sit there and struggle and spin their wheels and spend many, many hours working on this thing and spend a lot of money. And, at work, I earn a lot of money every hour. And I realized, like, damn, I could have,
You could become friends with some ANCOMs. Because they're too busy quoting theory and not doing a whole lot, and being like, Rothbard said French fries taste good with pancakes or something.
Yeah.
And Rothbard went from, hey, leftists are cool to unleash the cops. But you know what? A lot of these left-wing anarchists are good at gardening and good at direct action, and they build cool communes. So
I agree with you. I am friends with a lot of left-wingers, especially ANCOMs, and also even some Marxists and tankies. And I try to go out of my way to be friends.
In person,
I only
is
hate
what
the fash. I don't hate the Marxists.
In person,
I go out of my way.
In person is what he's talking about. Like, so what he's saying is, if you actually knew some in person, you could, like, maybe do some mutual aid. You could say, you can have some food for your commune if you help me grow mine.
There you go.
That's a fair point. So,
and additionally,
regardless, so like, hindsight is 20/20, and all these tips that you guys are giving me are good tips. But the fact of the matter is that my experience was that I spent a lot of hours, and the reward was relatively small for the garden. And that's just kind of like one example of many. I could come up with so many where having some type of humanoid or some sort of robot with AI that you could program, that you could verbally tell it things, and it'll go do all this labor for you. And it's just something that you plug in, and it's not sentient. That would be a huge quality of life improvement, enormous quality of life improvement. And the cheaper those robots get, the more accessible they are for the average Joe, the better off humanity will be. And I'm not necessarily saying that Optima or Tesla has to be the one to do this. I'd like to see 1,000 robot companies blossom, but I am pro robot. I'm pro AI.
Here's definitely the thing, though, like, you're saying quality of life improvement, and then your comment is that you want optimists so that you can, quote, sit on your fat ass. So is that really a quality of life improvement? Because for me, if I'm not going out there and doing stuff and being active, I feel like shit. I feel useless. I feel like dead inside. And, like, that's true of the vast majority of people. I don't know if your
Yeah.
psychology is just built differently where you're okay with rotting, but like the vast majority of people aren't, and they probably wouldn't be. And like, that's the reason that a whole lot of governments who want us to not understand how to do this shit for ourselves, how to take the
Yeah.
power into our own hands, want this shit. It's why the investment like partners like for Elon Musk not only include the U.S. government itself, which is part of the system, but also the World Economic Forum. Like that's what A16 is. It's a WEF global leader, and also a bunch of WEF linked like venture capital firms associated with those, and then also the QIA, which is Qatar Investment Authority, Qatar. The Kingdom Holding Company of Saudi Arabia, that's their sovereign wealth fund that helped, like both Qatar and Saudi Arabia helped Elon Musk buy Twitter. And also, with all of that, not just those, but like a variety of other government actors, including like the OIA, I think that's Oman. Like, and so like all of these significant actors in governments and all of these significant actors connected to the state really like the idea of people rotting on their asses and not actually doing shit for themselves, that they forget the skills, they forget the community, they forget how to get their hands dirty. They rely on technology that's connected to the state and to the system, and so they're forced basically into this mentality of complacent servitude and lack of movement. Sedentary lifestyles legitimately are an asset of the state. They are a way that the state can make us so complacent in our like lack of action that we never move against them, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, you're right. When I said sit on my fat ass, I was being flippant or exaggerating, as I tend to do. What I mean is that I want to spend more time doing the luxurious things that I want. Now, I don't actually sit there and sit on my ass all day. Although I'll sit on my ass when I'm playing games with my children. Let's play some card games, let's play some board games, let's play some video games. But a lot of my when I have free time, I like to tinker with automobiles. I like to play musical instruments. I like to read and watch videos on YouTube about political theory and blah blah blah. So and everyone has their little things that they like to do. Some of them involve me being on my feet, some of them involve me sitting in a chair. But what I really meant when it came to sitting on my fat ass was just a silly way of me saying that I want to do those hobbies that give me the joy. And even though the gardening example, I enjoyed gardening to an extent, I don't want to spend 4 hours every Saturday and then another 4 hours every Sunday pulling weeds and setting traps for pests.
You don't
I would
need
rather
to set
spend
traps
maybe a
if you get
half
the
hour.
plants.
I just want to pick the tomatoes after they've successfully ripened.
Why don't you trade somebody? Okay, but there's somebody. Here's what Mises called social cooperation under the division of labor, which is an extremely clunky term. But really, actually, Liquid Zulu, which we had a debate, has a good video on this. He says nobody knows how to make a pencil. And everybody probably has a pen or a pencil. I have one right here. Nobody individually can do it. And all he's saying is the most simple thing you have needs people to coordinate and to cooperate. Malay said wealth comes from hard work. Not necessarily. You can dig a ditch, and that is technically hard work. That doesn't necessarily make you wealthier. What makes you wealthy is someone says, I know how to make LCDs. I know how to write software. I know how to make a shell case. Okay, then you have a phone. So to have a garden, what you would want to do is hit up some of these, not the tankies, because they get really crazy sometimes when I'm like, hey, Marx was wrong. They're like, you question it. They're literally the crazy religious fundamentalists. But even though Marx got some things right, but I would just hit up people who the actual leftists who know what they're doing and be like, hey, I'll do this. I'm good at this. This doesn't take, you have something you can do that doesn't take a long time. And everybody has something they can do that doesn't take a long time and they're good at. Maybe Jeremiah's cooking or playing Sonic games or writing. Jeremiah's a very good writer. To the point where if somebody can't write, Jeremiah is the first person. Even if they don't like Jeremiah or they had a problem. Like Josh Sergensen said, I'm having trouble writing. My keyboard's not working. I'm like, talk to Jeremiah. He's good at writing. I'm good at making videos and voiceovers. I can do that quickly.
Yeah.
I'm not as fast as cooking or maybe something. So you find someone who is good at gardening. You give them a skill you can do very quickly, like automobile repair. Hey, I can help you fix, or, change the brakes or something like that you can do in a snap. That takes you 20 to 30 minutes. They do your garden in not 4 hours, 20 to 30 minutes. You can trade skills. Doesn't have to be with money. Could be with crypto, could be with something. And then that makes it simple. You don't actually need. Yeah. The people just say, hey, I'm good at this, you're good at this, and they work together. That's how things are made. That's how everything is made.
I like that idea.
Yeah,
but I thought what you said right now actually was really perfect, but I don't feel like what you said is incompatible with having a Optimus robot run around and do chores for you. I feel like adding robots to the mix will enhance the outputs of these things that I could do. And, I can have an Optimus robot change my oil. We can have an Optimus robot help us set up the garden when I team up with my Ancom friends. We can have these other mundane things done by this technology. It's almost like when what's the name of the device, the typesetting machine, or the printing press first got invented. And someone would say, no, there's art in the calligraphy, but the printing press is here and it destroys that. Oh, now the Optimus is going to destroy this thing and it spies on you. And it's like, okay, well, it spies on me when I'm talking about my Adidas sneakers and my Sonic games, but I can turn off the internet Wi-Fi and get this guy offline when I want to talk about my private things. Maybe my wife and I want to have a private conversation.
That doesn't do. Edward Snowden talked to us.
Maybe I can get a Faraday cage big enough for the Optimus robot.
Okay. Joe Rogan, I think, talked to I think it was Snowden, and Snowden's and he said, Snowden, what if I just turn my device off? He's like, that doesn't matter. It still hears you. Like, there's no way out of it. Plus, the problem with the robot, there's going to be unforeseen problems with the robot. I think the technology does not.
Probably will. Yeah. And it's not going to be all peachy keen, right? There's going to be some issues, just like there was issues when the car got invented, just like there was issues when, smartphones got invented.
And
right?
The robot can get a perfect stroke on the guitar. Why not give that up too?
Yeah.
Like, so there's additionally, you could just do this with your kids. Why not set up like gardening times with the kids where they could like help plant the stuff that will distract the pests? It'd be cheaper. It'd be more human. Yeah. It would like bring you closer to your family. I don't know why you would get a robot to do things like that when you could like foster a spirit of connectedness with other humans by getting them to do it like with you.
Sure. Wow. It's a good point, but it seems like both of you guys got into the primitivist line of argumentation right now, just for this.
Oh yeah,
but you guys both own smartphones.
I'm very highly primitivist sympathetic.
I'm for anarcho-primitivism, as I want to work with other anarchists, because I have come to the realization, and I've told other people who are like super, super hardcore, like Jack, Anarch, look, I think you're doing good work, but like level with me. The government goes away tomorrow. Not everybody's going to be like, wow, Rothbard's the man. I have personal problems with Rothbard. The more I read him on egalitarianism, and the more towards the end of his life, I am not a Rothbardian at all. So, what I would say is I don't see it yet. There's no reason to trust it right now. Just because he's saying it's new and it's great and it's stuff like his Tesla truck. I don't know what the heck that is.
Awesome.
It's not.
I love it.
It's in front of the Trump Tower. It's a blast, if you know what I mean.
There is. That terrorist attack was crazy. The Cybertruck. One of the things, even though I like to criticize democracy, I'm definitely like a fan of consumer choice. But I feel like when people put their money down, it's a stronger vote than when they cast a vote at the ballot box. And I'll tell you that the Cybertruck is the best-selling EV truck in the world right now. It's outselling the Chevy Silverado EV and the Ford F-150 EV. Historically, like normally the Ford and Chevy are the best selling pickup trucks in the world. The fact that the Cybertruck is outselling the EV versions of those two staples, the Ford and the Chevy,
but it's,
I think speaks to the popularity
it's
of the
also
Cybertruck.
worse in every way.
Not in terms of an obnoxious styling, and that's what people seem to like when they go for it.
Okay, but that doesn't mean that
Some
it's a
people
better
value that.
vehicle.
It's better if you consider obnoxious styling the most important aspect of your purchase.
Obnoxious styling. Let's talk about that for a second. Let's talk about.
I mean, I'm being flippant a little bit, but
let's
you know,
talk
it's
about
definitely a groundbreaking.
Let's
truck,
talk about the
you know.
front bumper. That means that if there's a snowstorm, it collects on the front bumper like a shelf and blocks the headlights. Let's talk about the fact that when it's cold enough and the humidity is high enough, it can freeze the panel over the handle so that you can't even open your car. Let's talk about the fact that the back bed of it will oftentimes be like, the hood of it, the little like compartment thing, will have like no like restraint and cut off your finger or break it or something. Let's talk about let's talk about how the panels keep on rusting because they're made of stainless steel, and that's not something you should do. Let's talk about how the bottom keeps breaking off, how the wheels keep coming, like it keep like bashing the suspension to the side because they're too wide for the suspension. Let's talk about how the glass was always faulty and never had the resilience that they claimed it did, which meant that when they threw the ball at it, they failed their demonstration. Let's talk about the fact that the pedals needed, like, there were tens of thousands of them recalled. You talk best selling,
and then they put a little stupid thing on the pedal, right? I remember that.
And, because the pedals weren't like properly seated. Let's talk about the fact that it's got bad firmware that routinely results in trucks literally being abandoned on the side of the road while the Tesla approved people come from like miles and miles and miles and miles away to come recover that car, do a firmware update, and then the car can drive again. Because let's talk about the fact that the cyber part of Cybertruck is putting everything through a giant touch screen. Let's talk about the fact that like that's not a good idea. Let's talk about the fact that like the vast majority of the features of the Cybertruck fail under most environmental conditions to the point where it has to be towed out by real trucks, like the gas guzzlers that he's stealing from. Let's talk about the fact that the Cybertruck is fundamentally a failure of a capitalist who relied on government for his product and his company's success, and is now like an example of the lack of competition actually like being done on a fair and even keeled level, and the government helping the person with an inferior product get that product out there so that product can then be bought by a bunch of rich people who support his politics and like basically don't care about whether or not their truck is actually just a piece of shit that can't do what the other trucks can, even in the EV market, and that can't do what the like already existent gas like consuming trucks already could for decades.
Yeah, I do have to leave in just a moment, but that was a great monologue, and I don't actually disagree with all the what's the word? I don't want to say failures, but the bugs and the inadequacies that you pointed out, and I pretty much agree with all of those. The Cybertruck is not alone in having bugs and failures and inadequacies and recalls. All the other EV trucks have kind of experienced a lot of the same things. The Jeep that I have, which is a plug-in hybrid, currently has a recall in place that's ongoing, where the Jeep can spontaneously combust for no reason. So a lot of these things are happening. There's growing, there's teething. Yeah, and so does Tesla's. None of these cars are immune. And I will agree with you as well, because I want to agree with you as much as I can. I will agree with you as well that right now, currently, the gasoline Ford F-150 and the gasoline Chevy Silverado are better trucks and more useful utility trucks than their EV equivalents, their EV counterparts. But that gap, I think, is going to close more over time. I think it already is starting to close. And you'll get to the point, just like with AI, where it gets to the point where it's achieved that level where it's hard to discern the difference, or it's hard to notice the inferiority of one versus the other. But I'll let you get the final word, but I do have to go right
Well,
now, and real life is calling.
I won't do that because we'll do another part to this at some point.
I'm down for a part 3.
I think a lot of people that were going to be here for some reason couldn't. So
Yeah.
we'll call it relatively soon, and this will be just an hour presentation for today. But like, so I'm gonna give so Kareem, are you still on at all? Because if you are, then you can also give a final word. But if not, then it'll probably just be awkward when you show up to the empty call. Either way, Aaron, feel free to
Yes.
to give your final sort of say on the subjects discussed today. And like, because I've got plenty more to say, but I can say that at any
Yeah.
point. So.
Okay. What I want to say is first off, I appreciate the conversation that I had with Jeremiah and Kareem. I feel like a lot, although I disagree and push back on some of these issues, I feel like a lot of what these guys both say is not only nuanced, but also it's very perceptive. And it is true that a lot of these criticisms rather are valid or have meat to them. I don't feel like these things overcome the threshold to make Elon a bad guy. I feel like on the net, after all the pros and cons are weighed together, that Elon is a net benefit for humanity as a whole, and for me in particular, on a personal level. I'm excited to do a part 3, and we can continue. We can get into more of these topics that we touched on. If anyone wants to see my YouTube channel, you can find me at Libertarian, which is LIBERTAARON.
And Kareem can be found at Kareem6633 on Twitter and Kareem Mays on Facebook. And I'll just leave people with this, because this is a relatively short stream. I won't have a whole lot to say. But anybody who is this connected... Oh, Kareem can also give an outro statement then before I start mine. Feel free to... We're wrapping basically now, Kareem, so...
Okay. Check out Keith. He's on here last time at Attack the System. Mad Liberty, Comrade Bread. And also Kareem6633. I will revamp the Essential Libertarians and start doing current events on things. And then working on another anarchist YouTube project soon, because got challenged by a lot of people on certain things, and I need to actually answer
Cool.
back. And I also have I have big problems with BreadTube overall, so I need to fix that.
Nice. I want to see you tear into BreadTube, my man.
Well, Destiny is not good. Natalie Wynn is not good. Everybody on BreadTube seems to, they have some kind of rebellion thing, then they're like, vote Kamala, vote Hillary. And I'm like, whoa, they're like, what does actual, what do you guys do besides keeping gardens? You need to vote for Hillary Clinton. And I'm like,
yeah,
no. And Hassan is not good either. Hassan does dumb stuff all the time.
He's the worst. Vosh also sucks. But
Vosh
I feel you, man.
Vosh has done things I can't even say. I am going to self-censor. Vosh has showed some things on his channel that ain't
Self-censor for your own sake.
Well, I don't know why you would self-censor. He showed, horses fucking cartoon girls, so...
God, I can't believe that shit was real.
And it was also, by the way, yet more proof with some of these things that AI is a problem, because it enables people like him to have images like those. Some of those were definitely AI generated.
That's a good point to go against AI for a future convo. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure. I'm not an anime expert, but I'm pretty sure hentai existed before then. It probably had something like that.
Okay, yeah, sure. But it makes it a whole lot easier to get it together and to get it this very specific variety you want, when you don't have to seek out a commission or pay anybody any money very specifically for those specific works and have it be traceable at all back to you. So it's a whole lot easier for degenerates to be degenerate. So anyway, let me, and just, I'm using right-wing language because right-wing language is funny to sometimes use, but Anybody is capable of being that kind of terrible person. And my outro statement that I'll make before we clock is that anybody should be wary of anybody who has this many connections to this many states and this many like obviously corrupt officials and individuals. And when Elon Musk is a partner of the Department of Defense, a partner of all of these like obviously evil elite like venture capital firms, governments, corporations, contractors, and seed funding from so many people that like the average Elon Musk fan would claim they don't like. That should be a reason for anybody to give it pause, to maybe analyze this from a more rational perspective and say that Elon Musk is acting in the exact same way that so many people they claim to hate do. And if they truly do hate those people, then they need to recognize that Elon is an agent of those people and not separate from them. He's not an outsider. He got where he is by being an insider. And there's always these sorts of people that the elites dangle in front of us as like, oh, this guy's an outsider, a disruptor, but he's actually working with them every step of the way. And that's like him to a T. It's him.
What did
it's
Albert
Trump.
Pike say?
Go for it.
Whenever people, Albert Pike, 33rd degree Mason, whenever people need a hero, we shall supply him. Hey, here's Andrew Tate. He's going to make man mess. Here's Jordan Peterson, guys. Controlled opposite. Oh, no, here's Elon. Here's Trump. Whenever people need a hero.
Yeah.
Here's Vivek.
Yeah.
Pharma bro.
Yeah. Well,
Vivek really screwed people over too.
Well, we'll talk about that next time as well. So, with that being said, just be suspicious because there are going to be obstacles that are put up in your way, false prophets and various things like that get in the way of authentic freedom and an authentic opposition to the system. And these people, as the Bible says, will show as an angel in white, an angel of light. And they will claim to be on your side. They will claim to be here for you and your culture and your religion and your people and your whatever. And they will always go against you in the end. Because they know that if you keep investing in these sorts of people, if you keep investing in these sorts of actors, which are sometimes actual actors, then you will never smash the fucking state.
Hell yeah. All right.